Hello, my name is Edwin Rutsch, and I'm the director of the Empathy Center located here in beautiful Santa Barbara, California. The center's mission is to build the empathy movement and to raise the level of empathy in society through education and community building initiatives.
And my name is Anita Nowak. I teach at McGill University, and I'm the author of Purposeful Empathy, a book that invites readers to turn up the volume of empathy in their lives.
And at the beginning of 2024, Anita and I co-hosted the Empathy Summit, brought to you by the Empathy Center, and more than 40 authors of books about empathy participated.
They shared what their book was about, why they were motivated to write it, and what they hope readers will take away. Thank you so much for watching, and we hope you'll buy their book. I'm going to have the joy and pleasure of introducing our next speaker and author. His name is Minter Dial. He is a professional speaker, a filmmaker, an author, and podcaster who seeks to foster meaningful conversations and connections and elevate the debate. He's the author of Heartificial Empathy, Putting Heart into Business and Artificial Intelligence. Please welcome Minter to this summit.
Well. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you may be around the world. Anita, Edwin, thanks for putting this on. Great pleasure to be in amongst such an auspicious group of authors today. So I want to take you back to a day in my life, December 10, 2017. So that's now 6 years ago. And it was a Sunday morning. And I received a telephone call very early from a dear friend of mine, and also the brother of my best friend, saying that my best friend had just killed himself. And that shook me to the core. I had spent the last 6 weeks with Philippe and had to leave back to London. And in great distress, I decided to put down a book that I had already written 200,000 words for, and embarked on my personal journey to really dig deep into what is empathy. I'd been practicing empathy. I'd been advocating empathy during my career. I spent 16 years at L'Oréal. But I hadn't really sort of scientifically, if you will, or at least more investigated really what it all meant. So that was how I plunged into the story of empathy.
Minter, if you could get closer to your microphone to speak up, it's people are here a little hard to hear. Maybe if you get closer to the mic would help.
Well, it's in my ears, so maybe I just need to speak louder. Would that be better?
Excellent.
Is that better?
Speak loud.
All right. Well, sorry about that. Storytelling mode. I was in my own little mind here. So in any event, what I did is I decided to write Heartificial Empathy as a cathartic exercise for me personally, but also to try to do some good coming out of Philippe's death. So I went about trying to figure out what exactly constitutes empathy in my mind, to make up my own mind, because as many of you will know, there are up to 7 different levels of empathy, sometimes 5 or just 1. And I decided that it had to be, for example, cognitive and or affective in order for me to be able to learn it, because I'm not very good at affective empathy personally. Then I wanted to explore what stops it from happening. Why doesn't empathy happen? It's sort of everyone knows about it, but who's doing it? And what stops it from happening, specifically in a business context, but also in family arguments, in public and everywhere else. And this therefore felt like a very personal journey for me. With my marketing mind, though, I needed to figure out what slant, what was my USP? And the USP that I chose to dig in on was not just empathy in business, but how do we possibly encode empathy into a machine? And of course, artificial intelligence was the concept that I was looking at, but it could be put into other types of machines as well. Not everything has AI, contrary to popular opinion. Anyway, so that was the motivation for writing the book. And the key thesis, or there are 3 things that really I wanted to dig in on in this, which is the 2nd edition now of my book, which came out in April 2023, which is, first of all, to make the case for empathy in business. And having run business, what I really wanted to impress upon people was a non-dogmatic approach to empathy, as in, how do you actually bring it in real life? Because the problem with empathy and listening is that it often takes time that people haven't properly allocated. So for me to warrant the idea of people taking on more empathy in business, I needed to explain to them the why. Why is it so absolutely useful in business? And I did it in a very businessy focus, which is actually it's good for your business in general, for innovation, for employee retention, engagement, motivation, for your stakeholders, whether it's your distributors or your salespeople, and also for marketing and customer service, and basically layout for the more rational folks who may not be necessarily so in tuned with empathy, why it would actually be good for your business. And I took examples from companies like Microsoft, Satya Nadella, Warby Parker, Rémi Cointreau, for whom I had worked, and Business Solver, and even L'Oreal, where I used to work, how they were looking at empathy in business, and some of the failings that are in, because, by the way, failings are great for learning. The second thesis was about this whole notion of humanizing AI. It's a big topic. Everyone's scared of AI. The idea is how to work with AI. And as companies more and more use AI as part of their business solution, how can you humanize it and make it more effective? And in my case, I focused in on how can you make it more empathic? How can you make a machine more empathic? And one of the specific things that was important here was to suggest that empathy is cut into two pieces, cognitive and affective. And with regard to me and machines, splitting off the cognitive element was the piece that was most realistic and viable as a business concept. So how do you bring empathy into your AI for your business needs, your communications, customer service, and things like that? And within that, the idea of encoding empathy really makes you have to learn more about it itself and how to be it in order to be able to reproduce it in a machine. So companies like Pegasystems in the US that does customer relationship management, or Digital Genius that uses AI for customer service, how do they identify empathy within the machine such that they make better business decisions? And the third piece was about empathy and society and AI. And I really wanted to look at the way in society today we have an issue with mental health, which is spiraling higher and higher. And on the side of that, we also have a dearth or scarcity of enough human therapists to deal with the demand. So is there a possibility that AI, an empathic, well-encoded, well-intentioned AI, could help solve? And I wanted to explore that. And I looked at different initiatives like Hume.ai or Empathic.ai by Grin Lord, and Cyrano.ai, various efforts that are really looking at to try to use AI to solve the therapeutic gap that exists. What I hope you're going to take away from the book, the second edition, Heartificial Empathy, is that it's a great tool. And specifically, you can learn the cognitive empathy, like Will was saying, the idea of learning to listen better and reformulate. But you can't wish to practice empathy all the time, everywhere, with everybody. And I think that's my pragmatism that rules in. So it's about finding ways to bring it into business in a smart way, so you're not making eye rolling, oh, we're really empathic, and not everything is empathic. My wife regularly reminds me that even though I wrote a book about it, I'm not always empathic. But that's okay. We're not perfect beings. So the second thing is to create a culture of empathy in your business. It should be inside out. You need to start from the inside, and that starts with you, self-empathy, your team, your internal company, and then think about the externalization of that empathy towards your external stakeholders and clients. And the last thing is, when you're looking to develop a more empathic type of CRM or chatbot or AI, what needs to happen? And if that's something of interest to you in your business, I dissect the things like the data learning set, the ability to tag and code empathic actions so that your machine can learn better and better and make better empathic decisions and help you to drive your business. And in the end of the day, we are all imperfect beings. So have some self-love. I send you great wishes for that for you, and learn that we from our mistakes, because none of us is perfect. That's my message. Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, Minter. I noticed that Rob commented, we are all works in progress, right? We are all works in progress. I welcome anyone to ask Minter a question, either by putting it in the chat box or unmuting. Edwin, did you have a question?
Yeah, what are you working on now, Minter? And what are you doing now with around empathy, let's say?
Well, everything has to have empathy in it, Edwin. So what I'm actually specifically working on right now is a book on conversation, how to have more profound, meaningful conversations. The name of my book provisionally is Broken: How to Fix Society, Business, and Our Personal Relationships Through More Meaningful Conversations. And boy, do you imagine listening and empathy are part of that.
And you've also talked about using empathy circles with CEOs and so forth. Do you want to say a few words about that? Can I give a little plug for the power of the empathy circle?
Yeah, I maybe have done 100 of them maybe now, and I get these groups and typically CEOs, and I had two that had CEOs from 1 to 100 billion type sizes, so big ass CEOs. Sorry for my French. But it was amazing. These are individuals who didn't know each other at the beginning of the 2 hours. At the end of it, they came up with two big things. First is, whoa, I'm terrible at listening. And second of all, my gosh, you all are really good people. And it's amazing, that bonding. And by the way, another anecdote, I'm in Baltimore currently, and I was at a hospital yesterday talking to doctors about empathy. You would have thought that they would know a lot about it. And it was fascinating to talk about this idea of listening and the stresses that they have, which is real life, which can be the responsibilities that are put on them, the risk of malpractice, and all this, and the timing of seeing everybody. So they too struggle. So it's a good old topic for everybody. Learn how to listen better.
I think we have time for one more question, and I see that Nicole asked that you mentioned the loss of your best friend's brother as a catalyst for you. She's asking if you think that's a common thing, that tragedy can spark empathy.
So I don't know about that. What I do know is that tragedy can spark a change of mind, a change of mindset, a rewiring. You know, for example, when 9/11 happened, that dramatically shifted my desire to just sell shampoos to actually make a dent in the world. And so I think these life, near-death experiences, tragic moments definitely shake you up to the core. And in my case, I focused on empathy. I don't know if I haven't thought about that, Nicole, whether it's something that's sort of more generalized, because sometimes we live our tragedies. It can be like a health diagnosis or other things a little bit differently, but it certainly wakes you up to be present, be now, and hopefully, in my case, know time is limited and therefore do more important things.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Minter.